Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Sam Armando, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Rachel LaForce. Rachel is a nationally recognized comedian, keynote speaker, and media entrepreneur who uses humor and storytelling as a catalyst for personal and cultural transformation. She is the co-founder and chief creative officer of Skewed Orbit Studios, a creative production company and boutique agency in Atlanta that produces original content, such as YouTube series, podcasts, and exclusive Snapchat shows, and curates live events centered around bold, culture-shifting conversations. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Absolutely. I'm excited to dive in. Let's start with a trip down memory lane. Okay, take me back to before you started your company. What were you doing at the time? And then what motivated you to start your company?
Yeah, great question. So it was about 2018, and I had just gotten sober, and I'd been a comedian since, my whole life, as long as I can remember. But I had been doing that. I'd worked in movies and TV and things, but I was feeling the lack of control of being able to produce the amount of content that I wanted to. And now, having so much more free time of not being hungover, I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And around that time, I met my then boyfriend, Alex, who's now my husband. And he was kind of in a similar space. He had been doing stand up for a really long time and he was really good, but just finding that traction. And I think that, it was kind of this perfect storm of where we both were in our own personal lives and then the life that we wanted to build together. And it kind of just happened. I saw UTA, which is United Talent Agency. I was on they have like a routine email list that goes out of things they need, people they're looking for. And there was a company looking for a podcast. And I was like, Alex, we should pitch them. Just totally thinking like, no big deal. And we did. And they said yes. And then they bought it and we made it. And we were like, I think we have a real company now.
Nice. Look at that. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward to today. Okay.
Okay.
To give the listeners more context, like who would you say is your ideal customer and what is the main problem that you solve for them?
Great question. So we've learned this through trial and error. So I want to say that for people that are trying to figure out who their ideal client is,
Mm,
especially in a creative business, because often who we think it is and who we're trying to sell to, it's not working. And so for the past year, we had been targeting creators because we have a creative studio. We do a lot of podcast clip farming for people where they come in and we make it set up that it looks like a podcast. And we make sure that like their pain points, what they solve for their clients, what they're trying to do, et cetera, we feed that to them. We clip it. We're like, certainly creators would want this.
mm,
Turns out most of them have the aptitude, the setup, or they don't have the time. They are not our ideal person. So in fact, it is folks that are not in creative fields that are now being called to the front of the camera. So I'm talking lawyers, doctors, physicians, a lot of real estate agents, big time attorneys. So these kind of secondary where we wouldn't have thought of them as being a front of camera position, but now so many people are creating brands outside of the actual people that they service. And so that's the number one thing we solve for them is we have the setup. We have everything that they need. We have the space, we have the expertise. And so these people are super busy, And so that's really the thing is like what we're solving for them is time and efficiency, which if you know any lawyer or real estate agent, that's what they'll say is they're always just looking for more time. So it's
yeah.
really efficiency and then the expertise of knowing, hey, we're not going to waste your time. You don't need to get a full setup at home. Come here, give me an hour, be ready to go. I'm going to feed you these lines and I can coach
Mm,
you to get the most authentic version for folks that are just starting out. They're not as comfortable in front of the camera. And at the end of that, now they have 30 clips that they can post to really start to get and support the personal brands or online representation that they're looking to build and curate.
So you're just like completely bolstering their authority and they don't even need to use that much mental effort. It sounds like you have done all the heavy lifting and they just need to show up and then they're going to have a lot of content to choose from. That's really cool.
100%.
I also love what you said too about how this took some work, like finding the ideal client. I think so many, especially newer business owners, they don't launch because like they don't have all the clarity in the world. And clarity doesn't come before you launch, clarity comes from launching.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a good reminder to just go with the thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So what is your core offering? Is it basically, the one-off, we're gonna film this podcast, or like what does it look like from start to finish?
That's a great question. Another thing that we have had to retool to figure out like what do people really need? Because I know from a creative producing standpoint what I think people need, but where are they actually in their journeys? So the core offering that we have is a little bit of like a creative intensive. So my husband Alex is, I call him the ideas guy. He is a wizard at taking where somebody is. So let's say they're a real estate agent, but they primarily work with let's say high powered women that are like the head of their household, right? These women, they've got a lot going on, they're smart, they know exactly what they want. So this real estate agent has to make sure that their frequency, their energy, what they're putting out is matching that ideal client, right? It's not enough just to be able to sell homes. Why is, this person the person to sell or buy your home? So what Alex is really good at is meeting with that real estate agent, going through, okay, how are we going to get you closer to where you are a constant magnet for your ideal client, okay? And workshopping that. Then once we have all of those markers in place, then they come to me. And I'm really the queen of intuition. Great, we've learned the rules, now we need to forget them, right? And this is basically those, it's just 2 hours. So it's an hour with Alex, an hour with me. We've got our whiteboard out. Obviously, these people are established, they're successful. So they're able to meet our need, which is the information that we don't have. And together within those 2 hour incubator, we have everything that we need to build their online presence. And then after that, based off of what we got in those 2 hours, that's when we do our clip farming. And that's really most successful for people who are either rejuvenating an online presence or launching an online presence. So that's really the folks that we see the most. Occasionally, people will pop in for like a little bit of a tune up with us, but most of the time people find their way to us when they're going, hey, I know I want to launch this brand, but I don't know anything about it. Here I have this successful business, but it's not translating online. And that's really the linchpin that we are for them.
Yeah. I like you said Alex initially will basically like extract their zone of genius,
Yes.
right? And then what you guys do together is you basically turn that zone of genius into really, what's the word? Really digestible clips that they can
Yep.
use. Because you're right, these are like, typically speaking, they're not known for their content creation.
Yeah.
And like in order to actually thrive in, 2025, those companies need to get on this train. They just,
Yeah. And most people are so good at what they do and they've been doing it for such a long time. They don't think that they know how to, it can't convert. Like they don't know how to tell other people. And that's where I'm always like, that's where I come in. That's
yeah,
my job, right? Is to take from you what are the stories that we can tell, what's interesting about it. Because great, anybody can sell a home. But why am I the high powered woman? I want you to sell my home, right? That's what
yeah,
I need to know. I need to know about you. Great that you can sell a house. That's a fact and a figure, right? If you're selling shampoo, don't tell me that there's arrogant oil in it. Tell me I'm going to look like
yeah,
Sydney
yeah, yeah.
Sweeney when I'm done using it. Like that's what I want to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's so easy to just commoditize yourself if you come across like every other real estate agent or whatever.
Yes.
So totally agree. Cool. Let's shift to the back end of the business. Okay. When it comes to client acquisition, specifically lead generation and marketing, what are you doing to bring in more clients?
Ooh, I'll tell you what, if anybody's got notes, send them my way. This is also a big part. Our business is very unique. There's not a lot of people doing this service and meeting people where they're at. So it's a lot. Honestly, right now, we've been so lucky that I would say the core business has been word of mouth. Like
Mhm.
our like market and find other people has, I mean, almost diminished because we'll work with people, especially real estate agents. Everybody knows everybody. So somebody will see their content. So our content is actually what works for us. It does the work for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what does your sales process look like to turn a lead into a client?
Wow. It's fairly simple for us, but there's not a lot of optimization. I know that for a lot of businesses like this, everybody's using VAs. We have a fantastic VA who we love. Shout out to Ja, she's killing it.
Mhm.
But really, it is that's where the majority of our labor comes in because we want to make sure that we are the right people for you and you're in the right place. I make money in a lot of different ways. I don't need your money. I want to make sure that we are going to be of service for you and we're going to set you up to where you want to be. That's what I'm the most concerned with. So, a lot of times people will find their way to us and then we have just kind of like a brief interview. I always say, why you, why me? I
Mm.
say that in most meetings when I'm working with people. Why you? Why me? Because when I ask that question, they answer everything that I need to know. So it's typically just that. And then, we pass them off to our VA. They schedule, they get a kind of what to expect packet and all that good stuff. A lot of people come in, they're very nervous. They haven't been in front of the camera,
Yeah.
which I completely understand. But that's my biggest thing is I want people to know, like, listen, there is nowhere better for you to be than with Alex and I if you're feeling those nerves. Like we are excellent at making sure that we get out of you what it is that you're wanting to showcase and shine.
Yeah, and that's a need that I don't think a lot of people who help with content creation are touching on.
Well,
Like how
because
often do people say, I really hate being in front of the camera, or I'm not a camera person, or whatever it is. But the fact that you actually help with that so that they can get out of their own way is huge instead of just
yeah, because I
do it.
oh no, go ahead, Sam.
No, you're good.
Okay. I didn't want to cut you up. No, because I think that, what I'm seeing in this kind of like entrepreneurial, creative entrepreneur space is like everybody optimize. Yes. And we need to look for the places in our business where we can do less. But then where is the spaces that you need to do more? Your
Yeah.
clients need you, people need you and your expertise. And I think that's really the place where we have looked at where can we less our labor. Like clip farming is a great example. We're giving them a massive value and product for only 1 hour essentially of our time. So then we have the bandwidth and the energy prior to meeting them or afterwards of coaching them through how to post them and what to do. We have that bandwidth available to give to them and offer to them because of the way that we've set up where are we putting in our energy.
100%. Cool. So when you think about your vision over the next 12 months, okay, what are your milestones that you'd love to hit in terms of impact and income?
Ooh. I want us to have taken the last 18 months, come back through it. What are the things that are working? Double down on that. I want us to have a really strong sense of consistency. I think that's been the thing that has taken the most energy from us. And it's like we now know what's working, what works. We need to now work that. We've got to work it over and over again so that then we can find and like really kind of shine some of these diamonds. So that's as far as like the workflow and like those what I'm really wanting to do. And the milestones, would be I think we'd really like to add to our team. We'd like to get to a place where those financial markers are more consistent. And then on top of that they're growing. And I think those are also part of the milestones so that once we get there, like I said, Alex is really the ideas guy. He's the zone of genius guy. I want him to really be able to focus on honing that rather than a lot of the customer service things where we can find somebody who still holds the ethos of what we want to do, has the expertise that we have, but that is solely their job. And then that would free Alex and I up to really oversee and look at the business and find where are we leaving money on the table? Who could we be servicing better? So it's really about that consistent income, the consistency of what we're doing, who we're working with, how we are working with them to free us up so we can kind of come up and see where we want to go next.
Yeah. We actually had a guest on just last week that I interviewed who basically said the same thing. Like they are trying to navigate the challenges of word of mouth and referrals being the main lead generation method. And she mentioned the same thing, like very feast and famine. We got to level it out and get it more consistent. So I think a lot of people feel what you're feeling for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and sorry, one last thing I want to tap on that for somebody who's listening, if this resonates with them, that's the other thing of why you have to be consistent. You're not getting consistent clients, you're not getting consistent, money months because you keep changing a bunch of different things. Yes, we want to change, going back to the, full circle of this interview in the very beginning, and I said we had to try a lot of different things. But once you find what's working, don't panic and go, well, there's probably something else that can work. No, let's try the thing that works. Let's get consistent so that it can do the work for you.
Boom. I love it. All right, Rachel. So I have a feeling you're going to have a good answer for this because we always get good answers for this. Um, if you could take everything you've learned in business up to this point and give your prior self one main piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, Bet on yourself and pay to get your time back. I think I used money as a resource to invest in other people, thinking that it would give me my time back. And I think there's a lot of other ways. I think we look at money as the number one resource we need as entrepreneurs. And in fact, the number one thing you need is time, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, if you're a mother, a parent, a caregiver. There's so many other things that we're doing, a student outside of starting a business. And money is important. Obviously, it's a huge resource. I would have used a lot of the money that we generated for our business in a wildly different way. And I would have used it to gift me more time. So that way, when we have to make rapid decisions or decisions when you're blindfolded, you're making it while you're well rested. You're making it when you're not running out the door because there's too many things going on. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we think being busy is a sign of success. And in fact, it's space.
That's a gem. That's a good one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more, Rachel, where can they find you?
Yes. Well, for all things about our business, you can head over to skewed-orbit-studios.com. And for all things Rachel LaForce, you can go to rachel-laforce.com. You can also check out my podcast. It's called Healing is Hilarious. And you can find me on all platforms at Rachel LaForce.
I love it. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're looking to scale your business and you really want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to 30 million per year in just 2 years. Until then, keep on climbing.